Thank you. Senator Klobuchar.
Thank you very much, and thank you to Senator Lujan for letting me go first here. So, distracted driving. Mr. Morrison, I've long done a lot of work in this area, like many of our senators. We've lost several constituents, including 19-year-old Shreya Dixit from Eden Prairie, who died just so young, involving another driver when she was a passenger. You mentioned in your testimony that too many crashes involve distracted drivers and the importance of working with local law enforcement. I think people don't understand how many it is. Early on, I worked on drunk driving a lot when I was prosecutor, and this is kind of, we've done some good things there, not enough, but it's kind of taken over. And could you talk about the work that you will do? I was thinking back to Secretary LaHood did a lot in this area early on. Talk about what you'd like to do on distracted driving.
Absolutely, and thank you, Senator, for the question. Thank you for your leadership in this area. We've had over 3,000 fatalities each year, going back to the last 5 years, that are distracted, and I think that's very well undercounted. Unlike impaired driving, where somebody can, there's a blood test or a breathalyzer test where you can tell somebody is impaired. With distracted driving, it's much more difficult to determine that because you don't have ability to determine whether or not somebody was using a phone while they're driving. So I think that's undercounted. I think the messaging that the agency puts out there is very important.
Yeah.
I would look to double down on that messaging, and then also working with law enforcement too.
And trying to figure out if the spot checks are working or what works, kind of some updated information will be helpful for us. I think catalytic converter theft, I'm sure aware of that. These catalytic converters taken from unattended cars. And last week, Senator Marino, who knows a little bit about cars down there, he and I reintroduced the PART Act to provide law enforcement officers with the tools and resources they need to crack down on the crimes. The bill actually, if you could look at it, tasks NHTSA with updating motor vehicle theft prevention standards to ensure converters are marked with a traceable ID number. These are oftentimes horrible criminal cartels and organizations that engage in these thefts. Do you commit to working with us on this issue?
Yeah, absolutely. Catalytic converter theft is a scourge in our society. It creates a huge amount of inconvenience. It's it's very expensive to replace. And if that bill is passed, I'll absolutely be looking forward to implementing it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bars, congratulations. According to recent reports, FMCSA's carrier enforcement efforts have slowed, or at least there's not a quarterly motor carrier safety progress report this year. Could you talk about how, as a retired law enforcement officer, how law enforcement acts as a deterrent to unwanted and unsafe behavior, and could you move these reports and other things along if you get into your position?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the question, Senator. That's very important to make sure that we're strengthening enforcement, compliance, and training, and also the uniformity of making sure things are across the board are the same. I look forward to being able to understand what's going on within the agency of where there's some of these lacks, potentials may be happening, if you will, and making sure that the investigations are being completed and that we are taking bad actors off of our roadways that need to carry us out of service if that's the case, or whatever interventions that have to need to take place as well.
Thank you. Yesterday, the Senate Judiciary Committee with Senator Grassley and Senator Durbin held a bipartisan hearing on retail theft. And actually, one of the eye-opening things for me out of that hearing was cargo theft and how these crimes impact the entire food chain and supply chain. And I had no idea how much was going on. One dairy protein export company in Minnesota has reported an average of 1 to 3 break-ins per month in containers of dry milk powder. If confirmed, will you work to combat these crimes as opposed to committing these crimes?
Senator, thank you for the question, and that is a large yes. And working closely with all the different stakeholders we have, that has got to be a focus. In our time that I've worked on the Law Enforcement Advisory Board for the American Trucking Association, that has been one of their key points for us to work collaboratively with all the different stakeholders to combat this. But I look forward to working with you and others on this.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Roberti, I had a question on cybersecurity. I heard it was asked, so I'm going to just confound the other members. Like when you ask a question here, then you ask it again because you want to hear the answer. But I'll look back at your answer to the question, and it means a lot that Senator Whitehouse introduced you. Thank you.